Been a little while since I made a Dandadan video. First off, we have chapter 190, in which we have Okuran and Kinta fighting against Heisei, who is using his yokai powers. Heisei tells Okuran to not underestimate him, and that he is supposed to be at the bottom of the heap. Pretty much meaning that Okuran is supposed to be on the lower end of the totem pole, and that he isn't supposed to be popular. Meanwhile, Okuran and Kinta, who are ignoring what Heisei is saying, are in their combined robot suit fighting back against Heisei. The chapter is mostly an action-focused chapter, with some back and forth talk between Okuran and Kinta. During the battle, Heisei ends up destroying most parts of the robot, which exposes both Kinta and Okuran. This is where we get a bit more into Heisei's personality and also a flashback. In the flashback, we see Heisei bullying Okuran for reading about UFOs and the occult, and telling him that people who believe this are better off dead. This not only shows how much zero respect and little he cares about Okuran, but it also shows how much of a horrible bully Heisei was. After the flashback ends, we see Okuran grabbing onto Heisei and then telling him that UFOs do exist and listing off some examples. Okuran then tells Kinta to merge now. Kinta then uses the nanoskin to bind Heisei's legs and form wings, allowing all three to hover in the air. Kinta reminds Okuran of his earlier comment about their merger making them heavier, but disagrees with him in that they have become weaker, proving this by using the wings to dive down and slam Heisei to the ground, finally defeating him. After seeing Heisei defeated, the other enemy, the female alien, ends up retreating. This was a pretty good action chapter overall, and it really shows you that despite having yokai powers, Heisei was still not strong enough to defeat Okuran, who didn't use any yokai powers. It also really shows you how much training Okuran had to go through and the enemies he had to fight in order to get more stronger. Heisei's nothing compared to the past villains that Okuran had fought. The teamwork between Okuran and Kinta was also really good to see, and it was really funny as well. Going to skip chapter 192 as I do really want to talk about. I'm going to skip to chapter 192 as I do really want to talk about that one. In that chapter, we see Gigi asking Vamola if she can see Momo, but Vamola replies, what exactly was that again? Momo even tries to get her attention, but it doesn't work. Gigi then tells Saiko that Momo's curse is getting worse. However, even Saiko is now having trouble remembering Momo. Raya, one of Zuma's friends, then asks for help, saying that Zuma's vision is almost gone, and that Daiki, the boy that was cursed to age, can't walk anymore. Vamola then goes and helps Zuma out. Meanwhile, Momo goes with Gigi and hops onto his hand. Gigi tells Momo that his spiritual power are strong, and that's maybe why he can sense her better than the others. Cutting back to Raya and Daiki, Daiki asks why Raya is being nice to him, as the first time they met, he tried to beat him. Raya then replies that he originally thought it was his fault that Zuma was in trouble. We then get a flashback on when Zuma met Raya. Raya, who was being bullied, was rescued by Zuma. He says that Zuma was super angry back then, but at the same time he was also kind to his friends, and that he never let anyone behind. He then says that the people who gathered around Zuma were all people who had problems at home or in school. At one point, Zuma sees a girl about to use drugs and quickly knocks them out of her hand. He then tells Raya to keep an eye on her to make sure she never tries it again. The girl says that she views herself as a failure, who cannot meet the expectations of her parents and others. Zuma then replies they can't do anything to help her, but as long as that she is here, it'll be fun for us. As long as she doesn't use any drugs, she is pretty much welcome in this group. In the present, Raya explains that Zuma is a hero to him and the troubled kids because he overlooks their mistakes, which is the reason why they are eager to support him no matter the circumstances. After all that, then we get to end the chapter, which is a bit of a surprise. we see a news talking about some prisoners that have escaped from a vehicle that was transporting them. Then we find out who these men are, and they are the same ones from the Keto family, the same family who are the main villains of the Cursed House arc. Back at the airport, we then see Naki along with the other members behind Gigi and the others. Naki is of course looking for Momo, and then ends off by saying that she's looking forward to this. Another great chapter overall. The flashback with Rai and Zuma was really nice to see, and it just goes to show you how much of a kind person Zuma is, despite at first not looking like one. As for the situation involving Momo, Zuma and Daiki's curse, this is no laughing matter, because the chapter again proves that the curse is getting even worse as it goes on even longer. If Amola already forgot about Momo, and if Psycho's now starting to forget about her, what does this say about Okran? Will he also start to forget about Momo? And what about Gigi? Will he eventually start to forget about Momo as well? As for the Keto family coming back, not surprising there, as I knew that at some point these guys would come back again. I will say that the return also matches with upcoming season 2 of the anime, which is pretty cool to see. And that is pretty much it.